everyone, today I'm going to do a really quick Father's Day's card because it's next weekend here in the UK, so I want to just rustle up a really quick card from my dad. First of all, what I'm going to do is create the card base. I'm going to go to the rectangle tool here and just draw a rectangle. Then I'm just going to click on it to highlight it and then specify the dimensions over here to the right. I know my card needs to be 14.8 centimetres wide and 10.5 centimetres high, and that's a standard standard A6 card in the UK. So that's now set to that correct card size. What I also need to do is create the back of the card. So with this selected, I'm just going to go up to this replicate tool and then just hit the duplicate above. Then I'm just going to highlight it all by hitting Control A and then Control G just to group those together so they don't move around. Okay, so now we've got the card base done. What we need to do is write the word Dad, and it's going to be quite a big word at the bottom here in this bottom portion of the card. So you just click on the text tool over here to the left and then click anywhere on your clipboard and just write in the word Dad. Now I'm going to highlight that text because I don't want it in that particular font. I want to use a Stencil Font, and I'm going to use the Stencil Standard font. The text size is about right. I want it to be quite big. So now I'm just going to click away from that text object and then click back onto it, and then right click and hit Make Compound Path. And this means that now I can't adjust this as text. This is now an actual drawing object as opposed to a text object. But that's great because that's exactly what I want. And what I can do now is make this a bit bigger just by dragging that marquee tool to the size I want. And I also don't like the distance between the first D and A of the word Dad. So what I'm going to do is right click on it and hit Release Compound Path. And this doesn't turn it back into a text object. It remains as a drawing object, but each one of these is an individual object now. So what I can do is just select the first letter by dragging my marquee tool around them both and then just moving it a bit closer in until I'm happy with the spacing. Once I'm happy with the spacing, I can select all three letters and hit Control G to group them again. So I know now they're not going to move around where I don't want them to. And then one final check on the size. I think I'm just going to go a tiny bit bigger. Should be about right. And then I'm going to select the whole thing, which is Control A, and go to this Align window, and then just hit Align Center. And then the sentiment is exactly in the center of the card now. Okay, the very last thing I need to do now is just to remove this cut line here. Otherwise the front of the card will be cut away from the back of the card and I won't just be able to fold along that line. So what I need to do first of all is to ungroup it. So I'm going to select it, right click on it and go to Ungroup. And that gives me my two separate rectangles again. I'm just going to zoom in because these two have to be slightly overlapping for the weld tool to work. So I think they're slightly overlapped now. I'll zoom back out again and then just select them both, and I'm doing that by clicking on the one, holding down Shift and clicking on the other one. Then I can go to the Modify window and hit Weld, and as you can see now that line there has completely disappeared, and I'll just be able to fold on that line and it won't cut it. Lastly, what we need to do is to group the whole thing together now, just to make sure everything stays where we want it. So I'm just going to go to Control A and then Control G, and this is now all one object. I also need to be able to fit it onto my clipboard, so I need to rotate it. So I'm going to go to Object, Rotate, and then 90 degrees clockwise, and then it's ready for me to cut out on my craft robo. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and meet you back at my craft desk. Okay, so as you can see now this has been cut out, so I have my card base. what I need to do is create the fold in this card. So just to be sure I get it in the right place, I'm going to score it. Now this is 8 1/4, so I need 4 1/8 score line. Let's just fold that on the line. Just crease it with my bone folder. Next, what I need to do is just put Happy Father's Day just above this the dad cutout. For that, I'm just going to use a stamp that I created using the Image Pack stamp kit, and I'm going to do that in Versamark and embossing it in white. So first of all, I'm just going to use my stamp buddy, and just to remove any stray marks on the cardstock that might pick up the white embossing powder. Then I'm just going to ink up my stamp with the Versamark, line it up where I want it, and stamp that down. And shake some white embossing powder over that. And I'm just going to heat set that now using my heat gun. Okay, next what I need to do is put this piece of white copy paper on the inside of the card so that I don't have to use a white gel pen to write the card. I could just write it in any biro or whatever I want. Because I know a lot of people don't have the white gel pen, so it's quite nice to have this white insert just to write on. So I'm going to go ahead and stick that in. Okay, then I'm going to use this Fly Kite collection by October Afternoon. As you all know, it is probably my most favourite collection of all times, and I have used it a hell of a lot. So yeah, I go to this quite a bit. I'm going to be using these 4 patterns, and what I'm going to do is have it so that, I'm just trying to show you, the dad has got the colours behind it looking like that. I think that's going to look really, really good. Okay, so I'm going to start with this bottom piece, and I think I need about a 2.5 centimetre strip. Okay, and I'm just going to adhere that to the very bottom of the card. And just trim off the overhang. Next I want this orange flower paper. I think I just want a 1 centimetre strip of this, and also a 1 centimetre strip of this one. And I want this one to go on at a slight angle, so I'm just going to place it where I think I want it. A bit higher. So I'm just looking through the window in the card just to see where I want it. And once I'm happy with it, I can just press that down. Again, this one I want at an angle, so I'll just get the glue roller on it. Again, I'm just placing it where I think I want it, looking through the window, and once I'm happy with it, I can just stick that right down. The last little bit of pattern paper needs to just cover that remaining gap. So it's going to be cut at an angle. So I can see from here it needs to go down to about there on this side and about here on that side. So go ahead and cut that at the correct angle. So I'm just lining this up on my grid paper just to make sure I get this on straight in the inside of the card. And then I just need to trim off these edges on both sides. And last but not least, I'm just going to do a line of faux stitching around the edge of the card. And that's today's card. Not even any corner rounding. I'm impressed. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye!